Hey, in today's video, we're going to cover how to get a structured step-by-step system using your existing skill sets. Hey, Dave O'Sullivan here, and what I want to do today for you is show you how to take your existing skill sets and put it into a structured step-by-step system. So when we break this down fundamentally and we look at what we need to be that go-to therapist who can help people who fail traditional approaches, I always like to keep this very, very simple. So you've got a patient here, okay? You've got a patient and that patient has a problem, okay? They can't do X, Y, and Z, okay? And fundamentally, this is the issue. A lot of therapists are so focused on the diagnosis that they forget the person in front of them. So a person comes into you and the person doesn't have back pain, the person has a problem. And ultimately that's the reason that has actually motivated the patient to come into you with their back pain or their knee pain or whatever it is. So that patient has a problem and they ultimately want to get back to X, Y, or Z, okay? And this is the critical thing that we need to understand as therapists, is it's not about the back pain. It's about a person coming to you with a problem that needs guidance and needs a solution to get back to X, Y, or Z. And when you look at it like this, it changes everything in your mindset. It focuses your mind to go in a completely different direction. So a patient with a problem with X, Y, and Z, they can't do the gardening, they can't lift their kids, they can't go on walks. How does getting that patient to lie on their front and massage their low back for an hour a week or half an hour help them get back to X, Y, and Z? Now, the hands-on treatment can be an important part of that solution, but is it the full solution? So once you start looking at this and you look at the person in front of you, we can start to see, okay, what do I actually need to be successful in getting that person from A to B? Okay, and this is how I look at it. I keep it so simple, okay, that we don't get too bogged down on overwhelming ourselves and procrastinating and worrying about a diagnosis that's built ultimately on special tests and all these tests that aren't the most accurate anyways, okay? Now they're still important and we don't want to miss anything, but at the same time, we don't want to put all our eggs on one basket, because ultimately that patient, they've got a problem, they've got some movement adaptations, they've got some movement behaviors now that they're doing that aren't helpful in getting them to here. And that's our job as therapists, is ultimately to undo all of that, build up their confidence in themselves, in their body, and help them to get back to X, Y, or Z. Because we know that just because you have pathology doesn't necessarily mean you have to have pain. Okay? So when we look at your existing skill sets, what do we need here? So the first thing we need is we need the clues. Okay, what are the clues that are causing this problem? Okay, why did this problem happen in the first place? Okay, so for that, you should be looking like, where do we do that? We do that in the subjective assessment. So the skill sets that you need is you need to be able to ask better questions. Okay, you need to ask high quality questions. Now, when was the last time that you've done a CPD course, that you spend time improving yourself on this area, okay? And this is the module 1 in the mentorship. That's the one where most of the therapists are shocked at how much value they get out of that, and they weren't expecting that. They come into the mentorship, they think, oh, module 1 subjective assessment, I know all this stuff. The biggest takeaways from the mentorship, a lot of therapists will say, setting expectations, having authority, and actually leading the session. And a lot of therapists here, it's changing their mindset to look at it like this rather than just looking at it as the person's coming in for a diagnosis. The person's coming into you because they've got a problem that they need help with. They're not coming in because they've got a disc bulge. They're coming in because they want to live their life pain-free, they want to sit pain-free, they want to sleep pain-free, they want to walk with their kids, they want to enjoy their life. That's the problem the patient's coming in with. The disc bulge and the behavior and the adaptations, all of that stuff is an obstacle that our job is to overcome those obstacles and help the person, empower the person to get back to this. So then what we need to do is we need to find out what the actual obstacles are. What are the obstacles or the habits that are contributing to the problem? So that should look like the objective assessment. So what courses have you done that's helping you make sense of the objective assessment? Are you reading any research papers? Are you reading any books that's helping you do this? So the first one is the subjective, second one is the objective. Then what we need to do for the patient is we need to give the patient clarity. So we need to give the patient a roadmap. And this is one of the fundamental things that I see that therapists don't do, and it comes back to bite them time and time again. So when you get a patient after 3-4 sessions, they lose motivation, they don't really understand why they're doing the exercises, they cancel, all of that side from a business point of view, it's usually this. And what you need here is you need communication skills. So a lot of therapists, we can study all the pain science education in the world, okay? We can use fancy terms that are up here, and the patient is hearing these terms for the first time in their life. Because when you look at a person and you forget about diagnosis and you forget about us as therapists, because we're so engrossed in our day-to-day work, and you actually look, this person is probably coming to a health professional for the first time, or they've seen other health professionals. The amount of times that I've seen someone who's failed traditional approach, they've seen 5 or 6 therapists, and I'll say to them, I've got this MRI result and all this, and I'll ask the question, has someone actually explained what all that stuff means in the real world? And every single patient will say, actually, no, they haven't. They've told me I've got a tendonitis or a labral tear or something like that. I don't know what that means. Okay, so we need to pull ourselves down to the patient's level rather than try to pull the patient up to our level. Okay, so for that you need communication skills. So when was the last time you've done a CPD course that's improving your communication skills? Okay, now here's the big one. Here's the one that everyone does the courses on. Hands-on. Okay, so I don't mind hands-on treatment, okay, but I don't get carried away with hands-on treatment, because the most dangerous number you can have is one exercise, one hands-on treatment, because if that doesn't work, that technique doesn't work, what do you do then? Okay, so then we've explained the plan for the patient, how to get from A to B, what needs to happen and why they're going to be doing it. Your hands-on treatment is valuable. It can help overcome some of these obstacles. But the problem is, hands-on treatment, okay, this is the low tolerance. Hands-on treatment is probably going to be somewhere around there to the tissues in terms of loading tissues. I've got a use for hands-on treatment, but from my experience, if hands-on treatment is going to change range of motion, if it's going to decrease pain experience, if it's going to help someone, it's going to help in the first 60 seconds. For me, personally, from what I've seen, the difference in hands-on treatment, it's going to happen very, very quickly. If we appreciate that the nervous system is going to adapt, it's going to change, possibly desensitize. Again, we don't really understand the mechanisms of a hands-on. But for me, from my experience, if you're using hands-on, it's going to change within 60 seconds. There's going to be no more value to doing the same exercise or same technique you're doing for 7, 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes, as there is the 60 seconds. Okay? And that's what we always do here at the mentorship is test, treat, retest. Okay? So how many YouTube videos, how much time have you spent on your hands-on treatment? And for a lot of therapists, they'll spend a lot of time on that. So straight away, when you see your structured system, you can see that we're very, very heavy in this area as therapists. Okay? So for me, my stance, my opinion of it, I don't mind hands-on treatment, but I think it should be a tiny bit of the session. I don't think it needs to be a case, and this was me before, 30 minutes or 25 minutes, if it's a 30-minute session, 25 minutes hands-on, rush some exercises, and then that's it, okay? Now, I've been guilty of that in the past. Now, as I said, I reckon if your hands are going to change or help overcome some of these adaptations, behaviors, I think it's going to happen within 60 seconds. It's going to happen very, very quickly. So then what you need after that is we need an ability to undo these adaptations and then increase the low tolerance, okay? So the person's moving a little bit rigid, they get a little bit of pain experience. You might use some of your exercises to do that, okay? So again, for me, I like using breathing exercises. I like integrating that. I like looking at the person and going, right, If you've got a lot of pain, let's get you from fight or flight into rest and digest. Let's keep this so simple. Let's use a couple of techniques. Let's get the diaphragm pelvic floor moving, which is going to get the rib cage moving, which is going to influence the pelvis, which is going to influence pretty much all the other peripheral tissues. Let's keep this simple. Okay, so we need exercises that are also going to decrease the pain experience, increase movement, okay, and increase the load tolerance. Okay, then what we need ultimately is we need that ability to coordinate and be successful on what that person needs to do every single day so that we get everything doing its job. So my approach is, and again, just keeping this simple, when that foot hits the floor, it's not going to be perfect like this by any means, but I want everything to do its job. I want the calf muscles, the hamstring, the quads, the glutes to do their job. I don't want to isolate muscles. When your foot hits the floor, I want everything to do its job. So if you've got an Achilles issue or knee issue, a tendinopathy up in the hip, I don't really care. All I'm trying to get you back to is where you are now to where we want to get you back to, which is everything to do its job. Okay, then we need the higher level loading progressions. Okay, so that would fall under me, the more coordinative movements. Okay, so getting everything to coordinate so that they just do their job. And again, at the start, you're going to be using top-down cues, but as we get into the higher level, you're going to be using this stuff with thoughtless, fearless movement, okay, outside of conscious control. Because when the foot hits the floor and you're running or walking, a lot of this is happening outside of higher center control. So it's okay initially with your cues, and again, that will go down to the communication, the ability to execute this stuff, but then we need to get to the higher loading, okay, where we can actually tolerate this stuff with thoughtless, fearless movement, okay? So the coordinative stuff, using your breathing exercises, etc., your low load exercises, I'd usually call them, that stuff's great. The two of these would pair as a treatment, but then in terms of movement habits, this is what we need to get back to. And then the last one is your strength and conditioning. Okay, we need the person to have resilience. Have you got toolboxes in there? Are you happy to help that person? Now you might say, oh, I work with 70-year-olds. Well, if you've got a 70-year-old that gets the shopping out of the boot, or needs to pick up the shopping or walk with the shopping, that's a farmer's walk, it's a squat, it's a hip hinge deadlift, something like that. Everyone needs to hoover, they need to do some kind of lunge. It may not go through a full range, but you need to understand this stuff. Or if it's a professional athlete, then we need to do that. For number 7, if you're working with athletes or you're working with field sport athletes, the higher loading, that might be looking at the deceleration. Okay, so getting a person out on the field and be able to decelerate their body weight, manage their body weight. Because ultimately, all we're trying to do is we're trying to get it from here back to here. And when you get back to there, we need them to be able to tolerate load at various speeds, okay, and various tasks. So when you look at this now, when you look at all your pillars, I call these A pillars, what courses have you done that will fit into that? So now what you want to do is, right, I've done all these courses for number 3. This is usually, again, I don't want to put you into this, but a lot of therapists, so I've done loads of courses on hands-on treatment. List all your courses. What have I done for this? List them, list all your courses. I've done an S&C course. Great. Where am I weak? Okay, or where are my weaknesses, or where in the foundations, what pillars are a little bit weaker, need to be built up? And that's going to give you a lot of clarity of where to go next with your CPD program. So in the mentorship, we focus on all 8 pillars. It's not about hands-on treatment. It's not about just getting people strong, because I can promise you, from working with 12 years of professional sport, I work with strong athletes day in, day out, and it's not just about getting people strong. If it's about getting people strong, how easy would physio be? There's a lot more to it. And the reason there's a lot more to it is because this person has a problem, they have a problem with X, Y, and Z, okay? And a lot of that, it's not about just getting the person doing this stuff with getting them stronger to do this stuff. A lot of times for me, it's actually getting the person to do X, Y, Z by actually relaxing more. So it's actually the ability to do this stuff and move with these unwanted movement habits and using these higher threshold strategies and actually allow them just to relax, to use the right amount of energy to perform the task. So it's not just about strengthening, even though strengthening is important. It's not all about that. It's not all about hands-on, even though hands-on is important. It's about the whole picture with the person, because it's about getting the person from X, Y, Z with a problem. They want to get back to this, and it's about giving them that step-by-step graded exposure. So ultimately for me, you need that structure because that's the thing that's going to control the chaos. And as I said, the most dangerous number in business is one of anything. That's the same in physio. If you've only got one hands-on technique, if you've only got one approach even, I think that's dangerous. Because there's always going to be a time where a patient's going to come in and they're not going to respond as expected. So what do you do then? But if you understand where you're trying to go with the patient and what you're trying to do, then you've got a whole host of courses. You go, right, well actually I'm going to try this now. So all of a sudden that course that you took before that I don't really use that anymore. Okay, let's just take the best bits of it. And that's what we're trying to do in the mentorship is go, right, take all your courses in the past and let's bump all these pillars up for you. And I'll give you all the things that I use for each pillar. Take the best of it, take the best of the stuff you're doing and build your own system. And that's ultimately what we're doing for the mentorship. I'm not trying to force anything down you. I'm not saying that this is the only way to do things, but I would highly recommend you get the structure in place and you look at this, you reflect on this and go, right, where do I need to go next with my CPD? Because everyone usually goes to the things that they like doing, but usually they don't like looking at their weak links, if you want to call it that. So if you want some help with this, if you found this helpful, if you want help going through this yourself and where to go next, click on the link below. Every month we do some strategy calls with therapists, we chat to therapists. It's not going to be a sales call in terms of like pushing you into the mentorship. I'll be honest, I don't even know if the mentorship's right for you. I don't even know if I want to work with you, if you want to work with me. The whole point of this call is to establish, right, what do you need help with? If we can help you, then we'll tell you. If we can't help you, then I will 100% tell you. The last thing I want in the mentorship is someone that's not right for the mentorship. If we can't help you, then we'll politely tell you, but we'll also maybe recommend where to go next to get some solutions for you. So if you're interested in that, click on the link below and I'll see you on the next video.